When you think of Superman's greatest enemy, one name inevitably stands out: Lex Luthor. Over the years, we've seen multiple interpretations of this iconic villain, each bringing a different flavour to his complex character. But no portrayal has captured the full essence of Luthor, his intellect, his presence and his motivations, quite like Nicholas Hoult's version. In a landscape filled with iconic heroes, Hoult's Luthor shines as the calculating genius, the ruthless mastermind who's determined to prove that he can outsmart and overpower the Man of Steel. What makes Hoult's portrayal so compelling? Why does it resonate so much more than other versions we've seen on screen? Let's explore what makes Hoult's Lex Luthor the definitive version of the character, one who truly feels like Superman's greatest adversary. At the core of Lex Luthor is his intelligence. His mind is his greatest weapon, far beyond any physical strength or technology he can wield. Whether in comics, TV shows or movies, Luthor is always portrayed as one of the smartest men on Earth, but how do his portrayals stack up? Eisenberg's version in Batman v Superman gives us a Luthor who speaks in riddles, throwing around fancy words and convoluted ideas that are more about style than substance. He manipulates Superman and Batman, but there's little evidence that he's actually as intelligent as he claims. His plan revolves around pitting two superheroes against each other with the intention of killing Superman, but as the plot unfolds, we see a lack of foresight and real intelligence. Take the creation of Doomsday. It's a messy, reckless plan that seems devoid of strategy. Not only does he create a being capable of destroying everything in its path, but he also fails to predict how dangerous Doomsday could be to him personally. This is a Lex who doesn't seem in control, someone who acts rashly without fully understanding the consequences. Contrast this with Nicholas Hoult's Lex Luthor. From the very beginning, Hoult's Luthor is shown to be a master strategist, always thinking 3 steps ahead. He uses Superman's reputation to his advantage, manipulates his enemies with precision, and even constructs a powerful clone to match Superman. He doesn't rely on brute force. Instead, he uses his intellect to outwit those around him. For example, Lex's plan to build a clone of Superman shows his deep understanding of the hero's abilities. He doesn't just want to hurt Superman, he wants to control the narrative, to expose Superman as a fraud. He's spent years studying Superman's every move, anticipating patterns, weaknesses, even reactions, until he could outmaneuver him without lifting a finger. He's not just the architect, he's the operator, managing every move in real time, like a tactician orchestrating a battle no one else even sees coming. This is the kind of genius we expect from Lex: calculated, deliberate, and most importantly, successful. A villain isn't just about their smarts, they need presence. When Lex Luthor stands face to face with Superman, he should be just as intimidating, if not more so. Eisenberg's Luthor, however, completely misses this mark. His portrayal is a chaotic, twitchy mess. From stuttering and shaking hands to acting erratically, Eisenberg's version lacks the gravitas that makes Lex Luthor a true threat. This version of Luthor feels more like a kid trying to impress his parents than the calm, calculated mastermind we expect. He even looks physically unimposing, standing at just 5'7", which makes him appear insignificant next to Superman. It's hard to take a villain seriously when they don't seem capable of even standing their ground. Now compare that with Nicholas Hoult's portrayal. Hoult embodies a version of Luthor who is both mentally and physically imposing. Standing tall at 6'3", his Lex can look Superman in the eye without the need for camera tricks or platform shoes. His physicality is complemented by his cool, composed demeanour. When Hoult's Luthor speaks, he exudes authority. He doesn't need to yell or act wild to assert control over the room. His confidence and presence do that for him. In their first face-off, when Superman bursts into Luthor's office, the tension is palpable. Hoult's Luthor remains calm, composed, and unshaken by Superman's raw power. His ability to stay cool under pressure is what makes him truly menacing. This Luthor doesn't crack under the weight of his plans falling apart. He maintains his air of superiority, never for a moment doubting that he's the one in control. At the heart of every great villain is a set of motivations that make sense within the context of the story. Eisenberg's Luthor seems to be driven by a mix of trauma from his childhood and a hatred for Superman as a godlike figure. This background could have made for a compelling villain, but instead it feels like an afterthought. His anger towards Superman is rooted more in personal vendettas than any deep philosophical opposition. In contrast, Hoult's Luthor reflects the core of what makes the character so dangerous. He represents the worst traits of humanity: envy, selfishness, and an insatiable desire for control. He sees Superman as a threat not because of any personal trauma, but because Superman challenges his view of the world. To Luthor, Superman is an unfair advantage, a being with godlike powers who makes humanity seem weak by comparison. His motivation to kill Superman isn't just about revenge, it's about proving to the world that humans can achieve greatness on their own, without relying on someone who was born with powers. Hoult Luthor isn't just mad at Superman for being different. He's angry that humanity doesn't recognize his own potential. He believes he's the pinnacle of human achievement, and that's why he sees Superman's existence as a slap in the face. He feels that the world adores Superman without understanding the real cost of his powers, and he's determined to take that power down. In the comics, Luthor and Superman are the embodiments of two different ideologies. Superman represents hope, altruism, and the best of humanity, while Luthor represents individualism, ego, and power at any cost. Hoult's portrayal captures this perfectly. His Luthor is driven by twisted desire for recognition and power, but his goals are grounded in a warped belief that he's doing humanity a favor. At the end of the day, the biggest difference between Eisenberg's Luthor and Hoult's Luthor is the feeling they give off. Eisenberg's portrayal felt out of place in a world where the stakes were meant to be high and the tone dark. He came across as more of a comic relief than a serious threat. On the other hand, Hoult's Luthor embodies everything we expect from Superman's greatest enemy, a genius mastermind, a man of power, and a formidable adversary who's always 2 steps ahead. Nicholas Hoult's Lex Luthor doesn't just speak about his intelligence or his superiority, he shows it through every action, every word, and every move. His Luthor isn't just a villain who wants to destroy Superman, he's a force of nature, someone who believes his vision for the world is not only correct, but essential. And that's what makes him the best Lex Luthor yet. It's unfortunate that Batman vs Superman didn't give us a better version of Lex Luthor. The film had all the potential in the world to make this character a legitimate threat, but Eisenberg's portrayal didn't live up to that. Nicholas Hoult, however, shows us what could have been. His Luthor is the kind of villain that can stand toe-to-toe with Superman, and ultimately, he's a perfect foil for the hero. In the end, it's clear that Nicholas Hoult's Lex Luthor is the true depiction of what we've always wanted to see on the big screen. A character whose intellect, presence, and motivations make him a true nemesis to Superman. Thanks for watching. If you agreed with my take, or if you have your own thoughts on what makes a great Lex Luthor, drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Who's your favourite version of the character across movies, shows, or even animation? And what do you think makes a villain truly great? I'll be reading the comments and replying to some of the best takes, so don't hold back. And if you want more deep dives into your favourite movie and TV characters, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more. Your support helps the channel grow. I'll see you in the next one.